Hola, España. Gracias por la invitación. My name is Maurice Fernández, and my name is Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish. I am originally French, and I live now in the United States, in Arizona. And I'm excited today to speak about the 12th house because it is a subject that I've researched for many years. And also, I find that there's a lot of misunderstanding, usually very negative associations with the 12th house. So I hope to provide a new perspective and give you a greater understanding of how the 12th house works and understand both its shadow side and its virtues. Most importantly, to better understand astrology and as a whole. So I have written a book about Neptune and planets in the 12th house. The book has been translated to Spanish, and it's available both as a paperback and an ebook. So you can find there descriptions of Neptune in every house and sign, as well as every planet, how they function in the 12th house. So my approach is evolutionary astrology. We understand the soul journey, which basically means understand why we are here on this planet. Why were we born on a certain day with a particular chart? What does it tell about who we are and what we are here to do? So when I speak about Neptune, the 12th house, and Pisces, I speak about the archetype, which include the planet, the house, and the sign. So I invite you to, again, explore this with me. If you go to my website, mauricefernandez.com, you'll find articles, and some of them are translated into Spanish. Where to find them, you would go to Learn Astrology, and as you click on that, you will see international article translated in different languages, and there's a good amount of material translated into Spanish that you can enjoy for free. There are more advanced study programs that you can explore, and of course, private consultations. So as we delve into the 12th house, I would like to show you some charts and start from there. The reason is that quite often people look at the 12th house as a place that is dysfunctional, where there's a lot of disease and depression and self-undoing, addictions. But is it really just that? It may be that there are dangers if we don't use the 12th house effectively. But there's always an evolutionary purpose, an intention to everything. So it cannot be that one house is only negative and other houses are wonderful. That's not the evolutionary perspective. From an evolutionary perspective, everything has an intention. The same reason that the time we are born is not random. It's not a lottery. Oh, I have a good chart, I have a bad chart. It relates to your soul evolution, and your soul is born at a specific time because it's continuing a process of evolution. So when I look at this chart, Elon Musk has a 12th house sun and Venus. We know he's a very successful fellow, and Venus has to do with finances, among other things. So having Venus in the 12th makes him very wealthy. You may say, well, but it's something else in the chart. He has the moon in the 2nd house. Yeah, but he also has Venus in the 12th. And the ruler of his 2nd house, which starts in Leo, is the sun in the 12th. So the 12th house did not make him poor, quite the contrary, made him the richest man living. Another fellow entrepreneur, successful businessman with the sun and Mercury in the 12th house is Richard Branson, who started with a record company and then went on to build an airline company and now is going to space. So once again, the sky is the limit. And we see that his sun is the ruler of his ascendant. So it's not only the sun as a sense of purpose in life, but it actually rules the direction of his ascendant. That did not stop him from major achievement and great success. Interestingly, both are Cancer sun and Virgo moon. And another example, Madonna, born with 4 planets, including the sun in the 12th house, ruling the 12th house. And again, the ruler of her ascendant, Mercury, is in the 12th house. And very early on, she knew she wanted to be a successful artist, performer, and she went on to achieve that and be a leading icon in pop culture. So through these 3 examples, what I want to demonstrate, and before we get into the explanations, is that the 12th house can bring massive success. What you also notice in these charts is that these people have very influential careers, but they don't have a populated 10th house. Quite often, astrologers believe that the 10th house is the house of public success. And of course, it plays a role in our authority and in our public role. But you see, they don't have any planets in the 10th house and they do well. So I want to look at the order of the wheel of the zodiac. We look at this wheel and we see that we start in the 1st house, which is on the eastern horizon. Now, if you know some astronomy, the ascendant is the eastern horizon. So every morning, the sun rises on the ascendant, but it doesn't rise in the 1st house, it rises in the 12th house. Every planet, every star rises in the 12th house. So if we think about the 12th house being hidden behind the scenes, think again. Every day, when we wake up and the sun is up, it's in the 12th house. That's how we begin our day. So there's something actually about the light coming through the 12th house. Now, why is the first house the first house? And how does it work? What is beginning in the first house? Is that where life began? Not necessarily. If we look at the order and the development through houses, we see that the first house is the birth of our individuation. So we can look at it as the time that the baby comes out of the womb of their mother and becomes an autonomous individual entity. Before that, the baby was in a passive state in the womb, receiving nutrients by just being. So the embryo and the baby didn't do anything in the womb. They just existed. And they received all that they needed in order to develop. Once you reach the first house, you become an active participant. The first house is a fire house. It's the house where we are ignited. It's like starting the engine of your car. And it's the way the baby cries when they're born. They push out, so they take action to become independent, to start their own personal journey. And so it continues with the second house, where we find our resources, we manage our resources, we can feed ourselves, we can sustain ourselves. And the third house is about education, learning about life. And so it goes until we reach the 9th house. So from the first fire archetype, Aries first house, to the 9th archetype, Sagittarius 9th house, we take charge of our destiny. Okay? So we begin to make decisions. We begin to be active. We develop our willpower. So from the first house to the 9th house, you are in charge of your destiny. And as I said, the first house is the beginning, the ignition, the spark to a flame, and the fire burns. And you are in charge of your life. Fire is the last element that we were able to harness and domesticate. All the other elements are much easier to get. You know, we have water from the ocean and lakes and rain. It's just there. And air that we breathe, and the soil that brings a lot of food for us. Fire, where is it? You're right. It's light from the sun, and it's the lightning that can burn a tree or a forest. But it took a while for humanity to control fire, because spiritually, fire gives you power. It gives you free will. And so we get fire as a means to get control of our destiny. What the fire sign represents the creative principle, the fact that we are not only passive being who just float on water, but we intervene, we change, we, cut the trees to build a house, we plant seeds to grow food. We are active, we co-create in this world. And that's how we can advance ourselves and advance our civilization. So the fire principle, and like I said, the first house to the ninth house, shows how far you can go when you have independence and freedom and capacity and agency. What do you want to do with your life? That's fire. And how you get it. But then you reach the Sagittarius ninth house, which tells us how far you can go, how big you can get, the potential of your growth and development. So you reach a maximum. This is why Sagittarius is optimistic and it's adventurous, because it knows there's more to life than this. So they don't settle for just what is. They know they can grow, and they know they can ride on their horse to expand. Then you reach the last quadrant, which includes Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, or 10, 11, and 12 houses. And these houses have no fire. So these houses represent what is beyond you, beyond the ego, beyond individuality. This is when you begin to become part of the whole, integrate into the group, into the tribe, into society. And you start to cooperate more, to include yourself in the larger framework of community and society. So if we look at the natural rulers of this house, the ninth house is Sagittarian and it's naturally Jupiter, whereas the 10th house is naturally Saturn. And we know that Jupiter is very popular in astrology. We love Jupiter. It's like Santa Claus giving opportunities and growth, whereas Saturn often has kind of a bad press because it brings restrictions and limitations. But the reality is that the reason why it's easier to live through Jupiter is that Jupiter gives the ego a boost, growth, development. And so it's more pleasant. Whereas Saturn, the message of Saturn is that there is something bigger than us, that not everything in life is about us, that we need to understand the larger context of life, the larger context of society. When you drive your car, you have to stop at red lights because there's a law and there's an order to stop at red lights. So you may say, but I don't want to stop. I want to go. You have to stop. Doesn't work. You're going to get into an accident if you don't stop at red lights. So Saturn represents both the order of society, but also the higher order of life, the law of physics as well. So if you jump off a building, you will crush your bones. Doesn't matter how hard you want to fly, you will be crushed by gravity, Saturn. So Saturn teaches us how to live life, how to understand life, how to integrate in life, not based on what we want, but based on what can work. So it's a harder lesson that makes us more mature, that makes us more humble. You know, it puts our ego into perspective. And then through Aquarius in the 11th house, we learn how to work together as a community, as a group, as astrologers, to create a big event that we're all going to benefit from. So it's the aspect of organizations and groups and community and friends, people who think like you, people who are also your tribe. But through the 11th house, your creativity is collective. So think about the opposite houses. Opposite the 10th house is the 4th house, where it's more about your home. And the 10th house is about society's home and the laws that protect you. The 5th house is Leonian, and it represents your creative capacity, how you can co-create. But the 11th house is how we co-create as a society, as a group, not just one person. So if we stop there, we see how far Aquarius can go, because Aquarius not only brings what one person can do, but what if we combine all the talents and all the intelligence and capacity of the whole group, of whole society? So we start in the 1st house with 1, you, birth. You reach the 9th house with how big you can go alone, how far you can go as an individual. And then to the 11th house, you see how far you can go as a civilization, as a community, as a group. So we reach the maximum capacity of science, of technology, of human intelligence and genius from Aries to Aquarius, from the 1st to the 11th house. And then comes the 12th house. And the 12th house suddenly takes us beyond our time and space, beyond our passport. You know, who are you? You know, are you Spanish? Are you American? Are you an astrologer? Are you a plumber? The 12th house represents the larger meanings of our life. Why all of this was created. So it represents basically our ability to go beyond what we have created. Think about it. If the 1st house is your birth and your new beginning, you know, the ascendant, your 1st house represents your new cycle in this life. What are you igniting in this life? That's your 1st house sign. But what came before your birth? The pregnancy, the womb. So before you were born, you were also in the 12th house. But this womb is not just the womb of your mother. It's the womb of the universe. Meaning that the 12th house represents where we all came from. Every nation, every part of humanity in the present, in the past, and in the future. The womb of the universe. So this is a place, basically, where we all share the same needs. Just like a baby is in the womb and receives nutrient from the mother, in the 12th house, we are in the womb of the cosmos, and we receive nutrients from the universe. There's nothing we can do to change it, but we receive things for free. So, what did we receive for free? We receive air. We receive sunlight. We receive soil. We receive the sky. All that nature has created that came before us, that was there and to support our life, and we are just receiving it. Every day the sun rises, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a larger reality, bigger than our individuality. So it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how smart you are, the same sun rises for everyone. And when it rains on everyone the same. So in the 12th house, we get in touch with those forces, with that reality that is beyond our control, that is larger than us, but that supports us, that gives us life. But we are like babies in the womb because it's just there. You know, you did not make the trees green. They were just green. So through the 12th house, we can also get in touch with everything that we all share. Beyond our identity. So if the first house is your identity, who you are, I'm an astrologer, I'm, living in America, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The 12th house is what is true for everyone, where we are all in that womb. So think about it. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter who. The 12th house is everywhere, always, everyone, at all times. It is the access to eternity. So if we are everywhere with everyone, always, it doesn't matter if you are a tree, a cat, a human being, a Muslim, or an astrologer. What is common to all of us is in the 12th house. So what is common to all of us? We all want to be healthy. Even if you are an animal, you want to be healthy. Even if you live in the Middle Ages, you want to be healthy. We all respond to love. So that is something universal. Everyone responds to love, needs love. And beyond that, in the 12th house, we find what is true. Everywhere, always. For everyone. So these are very abstract concepts. How to bring that to our day-to-day life? Because the 12th house represents this universality, it's a place where your opinion doesn't matter. It's not about you. And yet, it's a place where you can do great things. Let me explain. Through the 12th house, some of the difficulties that we encounter is that because we connect with everyone, we don't have a sense of separation. We don't have a sense of self. And that can lead to a reality where we are not protected from one another. But through the 12th house, we can see how we are connected on a more spiritual level, that womb, and how we can receive from life all the things that are needed. But it's only when we move through the first house and second house and so forth that we can make practical use of that. Let me explain. When you are born in the first house and you build yourself, then you reach the sixth house. And in the sixth house, you gain control of your life. You take care of your health. You have a job. You choose what you're good at. What you are good at is different from what someone else is good at. So we see through the sixth house what you're able to do and how you can manage your life, control your life. So if the sun is rising in the 12th house and you cannot do anything about it, in the sixth house, you're going to build a window and you're going to build curtains to get shade, to close the window if you don't want the sun in your face. So you can't control the sun, but you can control your experience of the sun. And you can have an umbrella if there's rain. You cannot control the rain, but you can have an umbrella. So the sixth house is what you do where you can control in order to be healthy. If we look at it from a spiritual point of view, the 12th house represents all the things that are of divine, higher, larger than you, where we all belong and where we all came from. Whereas the sixth house is what's your responsibility? What is your role? What is your function? How do you make decisions for yourself? Another example of the sixth house versus the 12th house. While the 12th house provides everything that you need, the air and the light and the water and the oceans, it's not organized. It's like a jungle. It's big and wild. It's the primal form. And through the sixth house, you learn to cut and organize and process. The same way with animals. The 12th house represents wildlife. The sixth house represents farm animal, work animals. So in the sixth house, we manage the resources that were provided in the 12th house. But that's the life. If you have a strong 12th house or a strong Neptune and Pisces, you may be living more simply, more closer to nature. you're not looking for having big dreams and change the world. You are more content with life in its natural order. Whereas if you have a strong sixth house, you want to change things. You want to change the color of your hair and change the house and be more particular about how you want to do things and manage your life. And this continues through the ninth house, we say, where you reach your maximum capacity. And then the 11th house in Aquarius and Uranus, where you reach the advancement of civilization. So the 11th house is the future. It's how far we can go, where we are going. Whereas the 12th house represents where did we come from? This is another example. The 12th house represents the natural element, the beginning. And of course, that plant coming out of the lava is Aries. But the lava and the nutrient and the minerals to feed the plants is 12th house and Neptune. And then when you complete all this work, you build, amazing constructions, and you fly with planes and go into space and cure diseases and all that. Another example of this kind of Uranus-Neptune dichotomy is, again, the complexity of modern life, how we power our lives with creativity, light, fast moving everything. Whereas the 12th house is going back to the simple, going back to nature. And if you abandon a building, nature is going to come and reclaim it. So you see the Pisces 12th house dog and the Aquarian dog. You understand this illustration. Now, there is a big gift in the 12th house. Because it represents the womb, and it represents the passive state, the 12th house is where you can sleep and dream. Now remember, when you sleep, you are passive and you're very vulnerable. Imagine, you have no protection when you sleep. Every morning when you wake up, your eyes open, your day begins, you are ignited in your first house. So what is the gift of the 12th house? Is that because you tap into this energy that is universal, it also means that you can provide a service to the whole and reach the masses. So the 12th house is a house that is immediately related to professional services. So, for example, I'm an astrologer, and this is my identity. This is what I like to do. This is what I'm good at. And so I'm going to my sixth house, and I am doing research, and I am organizing my office and having a website and, analyzing astrology charts. And great, I'm very happy because I use my skills. But the 12th house will tell me if what I do touches the masses, touches the public. In other words, will people want to call me and hire me for my services? So the 6th house is what I can do about it, but the 12th house is, do I get clients? Am I actually tapping into something that some people need? You know, I'm going to organize a workshop on an asteroid. And maybe nobody's interested in that asteroid. So it doesn't matter how much I am skilled in that particular analysis. If nobody needs it, I'm not going to sell. The same way, you know, if you open a store and you want to sell, you know, hats, you can get organized with your 6th house to get the merchandise, to organize your shelves, to price your items. But the 12th house represents if anyone will enter your store or not. Your public appeal. So this is why these individuals with strong 12th house can be very successful. Because if you have strong 12th house placement, you can tap into a need that everyone resonates with, or at least a significant portion of the public. So if we look at Elon Musk, he has Gemini and Venus in Gemini in the 12th. And what is he selling? He's selling cars, electric cars. And so Gemini has to do with cars. And the ruler of Gemini is Mercury on his ascendant, squares Uranus. So electric is Uranus. And he is, again, very successful in that enterprise. The other thing that happens when you have Venus in the 12th house is that you can touch public funds, money. Public is the 12th, money is Venus. So people who have Venus in the 12th can find themselves in situations where they deal with money that is public. And what is Elon Musk doing now in the American Trump administration is that he's managing the efficiency department to try to save money for the public. And the reason, you know, right now Saturn is in Pisces, so Saturn was squaring that Venus, and that's why he was cutting budgets. He was firing people. So what do we see here? His ability to touch the public with these capacities, with his skills. And we see that he's able to generate a lot of money using these advanced technology. If we look at Richard Branson, he has Mercury in the 12th house, and he is very successful in transportation, air balloons, as well as airplanes, and so forth. And the sun in the 12th brings the entrepreneur. The fact that he can create something. The sun is your creative impulse. Create something that the whole, many people can resonate with. So what I'm trying to say is that both this 6th house and 12th house are necessary to understand your professional development. And how is Madonna successful? She is successful as a Leo in the 12th, as a performer. Okay? Let's look at other charts. This is the chart of the previous US President Biden. He has 4 planets in the 12th house. He is not behind the scenes. He is the front man, was the front man of the United States. So this whole thing about being behind the scenes is only partially true. But the 12th house puts you in the limelight, in a visible position, if you hold public office. This is why most politicians and most public figures need a 12th house, need it, need a strong Neptune or a Pisces energy to be able to reach the public. This is the transit in 1972, when he was first elected as the youngest senator. So he was elected at age 30 and was very young at that time, with the sun in transit was in the 12th house. Not only that, Neptune, look, Neptune was on his ascendant. So Neptune brings the same themes of tapping into the collective, offering a service that is collective. Then he was elected president in 2020, again, with the sun in the 12th. But this time Neptune was on his IC. So both major victories in his life were with Neptune on an angle. So if Biden was coming to you as a young man and say, what should I do with my life? And you would say, oh, you have a strong 12th house. You're not going to do much in the public. You're going to be behind the scenes, and maybe you're going to, suffer from depression. Guess what? You would have done a really bad service. Another person, a public figure, previous US president with a sun and Saturn in the 12th house, George W. Bush. Sun is leadership. Saturn is politics. Right? So what was he selling as a president? He was selling cancer, security. I'm going to protect you from the bad Osama bin Laden. He was born into a public family. His father was already involved in politics when he was young. And that's part of the 12th house, is that his father was not home. He was public. And the little boy may have had issues not having a father who is present because he was too busy out in the world. Now I'm going to show you a difficult example of the 12th house to close. This is the chart of Nick Vujicic, who was born in Australia, and he was born with a condition that is rare, but he was born without hands and without feet. So imagine that as the 12th house, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in the 12th house, and Neptune on the ascendant. What do you see? You see that he had a strong spirit, but he did not have a body. And that is sometimes in the 12th house, there's the feeling that you don't want to come into the body, that you want to stay in the spiritual world. So, in this case, the body is Taurus, the body is Earth, and Chiron is in the 6th house in Taurus. And you see there's a wound in the body. And that Chiron is quincunx Neptune and quincunx Pluto. So you see that there's a big crisis with his body. But he went through, obviously, a very difficult time. And yet it did not stop him. Because in the 12th house, he had no control, right? He was born like that. He couldn't change it. And that's part of the 12th house. But what he could change was his attitude. That despite his limitation, he said yes to life. And he went on to become a motivational speaker. And he's now touring the world in a very Sagittarian way, public speaking, Sagittarius, talking about hope and faith and believing in yourself. And he got married and he has 3 children. And he is surfing. So that's how you work with your 12th house. There are things you cannot change, but you can make the best of what you have if you say yes. So to summarize, in lessons about the 12th house, accept the things that are not in your control. Make peace with life. Make peace with your destiny. Accept to be here. Even if the material dimension is restrictive, embrace your incarnation. And then you won't need to escape, because that's part of the reality of the 12th house, is that you don't want to be here. You don't want to be born. You want to stay in the womb. And as a result of that, you constantly escape. You escape. You don't want to watch the news. You don't want to talk about bad things. You don't want to talk about your pains. And then you can also escape with alcohol and whatnot. But if you say yes to life, then you find meaning and you make peace with your life. So true happiness can be found in the 12th house. Because the happiness of the 12th house is not how much money you have, how pretty you are, but it is about accepting your existence, accepting your incarnation. It's about finding your peace. And when you are at peace, nothing can stop you. No one can harm you. So, I hope this gave you some food for thought. I encourage you again to look into the book and see how it works with every house and sign, and different planets in the 12th house. And I hope to meet in person one day, maybe in Spain, maybe here in the United States. Thank you, and take good care.